Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to another video. Today I want to talk to you about DECI and explain a little bit more in depth the post that I had made yesterday regarding discount that DECI was on. DECI was trading at around 93 cents, and I was thinking to myself, how can I get the group to really understand the value of DECI trading at 93 cents? So what I want to do right now is pretty much to kind of explain the math behind this, give you guys a really good understanding of the math, and help you guys justify why this is a better investment right now than investing into liquid hex and staking it, right? So let's just jump straight into it. Here I have some notes highlighting some important information about DECI. One of the most important pieces of this is the DECI supply, because we're going to need the exact amount of DECI in existence to be able to do these calculations. Another amount that we're going to need is the T shares pooled. So how many T shares are in this DECI pool? If you guys aren't familiar with DECI, remember, this is a Maximus pool, right, where a lot of hex was put together. That hex was then staked, and that stake has a certain amount of T shares, earning that stake interest. All that interest is divided into all of the DECI holders. So if you hold a portion of DECI, you essentially hold a portion of the T shares and are eligible to receive a portion of the interest. I think that was the best I've ever explained that. Anyways, so let's go ahead and do some math here, all right? Before I get into it, let me just confirm these numbers. I'm going to go here to resources, pulse chain, Maximus DAO. Let's go to team dashboard. I believe here's where we can find the data. Yes. Perfect. So yeah, hex pooled 565.99 million. I believe here that's what we have. Yes, and we confirmed that through the I got that number particularly through Etherscan. And then here, this is the total amount of T shares in that T share pool. So 70,389 T shares in that stake. So let's go ahead and put out the calculator and let's do some math. All right. The division would essentially be, right, for me to understand how much I own, right, of this specific pool would be having to understand how much DECI I have. So if I have, for example, 100,000 hex, right? If I have 100,000 hex and I was to have swapped that, right, at the launch of DECI and gotten 100,000 DECI, I was the owner, right, of a percentage of that entire pool. I was only able to understand how much I owned once the pool was closed. Now that the pool is closed, we can actually use these numbers valid, because the DECI supply probably won't change unless, in the future something happens, like they burn some DECI or anything like that, which would essentially increase your ownership but never decrease, because there's never going to be more DECI. There could only be less DECI by people burning it. So let's go ahead and do this. If you have 100,000 DECI, right, and we go and we do, I believe the math is going to be, let's go ahead and copy this number. So it's 100,000 divided by the total supply of DECI. That gives us 0.000176. Okay. Now, if we want to know the decimal version of this, right? Not the decimal, the percentage version of this, we multiply it times 100, and that would give us 0.0176. So the percentage, 0.0176%, is our ownership, right? Our percentage of ownership of the entire DECI pool. 100,000 DECI equals to 0.0176% pool ownership. Now, in order for this math to be complete and for us to really understand how much T shares we own, okay, we need to go back to that original decimal number. We don't really need the percent, but what we're gonna do is this, okay? We're gonna do 0.0176%. You see how it gives us the 0.000, right? Because it essentially divides it by 100. So percent multiplied by 70,389. That's the amount of T shares that exist in the DECI pool, equals 12.388. So let's go ahead and copy this number, right? For this example here, the amount of T shares owned by someone who owns 100,000 DECI would be 12.388 T shares. Now, I want to show you guys something. If we go to go.hex.win, and we check out the stake tab, and then we jump over here, right? And we do, let's say for example, we were to do 100,000 hex stake, and we did that for 3,650 days. That's the same idea of what the DECI pool would have, or did, better said, because they staked that for 10 years, essentially maximizing the longer pays better. That's 200,000 hex, effective hex. And then the bigger pays better bonus would have been bigger as well, because remember, there was 566 million hex, which equated to a maximum effective bigger pays better hex bonus, right? So here, notice how much T shares we get, 12.035. So 12.035 minus 12.38, you guys can see that even today, if you were to stake 100,000 hex versus buying 100,000 DECI, right, you would have more hex T shares by owning DECI at around, if you were able to acquire it at around a 1-to-1 or a dollar price, the same equal price, right? Not a dollar price, excuse me, but at around the same equal value as it is to hex, you would get more by owning DECI than by buying and staking hex. Why is that? Well, because what happens is when you buy DECI, you're buying T shares that were staked, right, before, right, like a few weeks ago. Essentially, DECI acquired a T share rate that is now lower than today's T share rate. Remember, the T share rate goes up every single day. So right now the T share rate is 24,926. It is Saturday, October, I believe today is the 22nd or the 23rd. Yeah, the 22nd, Saturday the 22nd. Here you remember the minting date for DECI and all these tokens was September 27th. So it's almost been a month. And in that month, right, T share rate has gone up. So this is the difference in T shares you were to receive by having purchased that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the DECI chart, because from yesterday, in comparison to today, the opportunity isn't there like it was yesterday. But look at this. Look how quickly price rallied from 0.93, right? 0.93 DECI equating to 1 hex. Look at how it's now at 98. People bought that up super quick. When price is at a discount, people aren't dumb. They realize the value that they're getting. Now, I want to do this with you guys, right? I'm going to pull up over here. When I click on these three little dots, I'm going to click Show Calculator. At the current value, right, we're going to run a quick example. At the current value, 100,000 hex is equal to 101,580 DECI. Okay, so imagine the same 100,000 hex today would be able to get you 101,580, as opposed to when launch happened, it was 100,000 gave you 100,000, right? So now let's run the same math, okay? But I don't want to run it with the math for 98% with only a 2% discount. I want to show you what that opportunity was yesterday when I mentioned it to you guys. Trust me, when you guys are in this group, you're going to get the best of the best signals, the best of the best opportunities, because I'm going to give you guys all the information you need of when to get into assets at the best moment in time. Yesterday, we spotted this opportunity, and I want to give you guys the math for this, right? If we do, it was for one DECI, it would cost you 0.93 hex. The math would be, right, 0.93 divided by 1, or excuse me, 0.93, or 1 divided by, 0.93, 10752. So it would essentially be 1 hex equals 1.0752 DECI. That would be the value, right, of 1 DECI with 1 hex that you were to have swapped it for back over here at these prices. So what does this mean, right? Let's go ahead and input this into our example over here. With 1 hex, right, we would be able to purchase, or it would equal more or less 1.752 DECI at that discounted rate. You could have done a hex to DECI swap, or you could have done a USDC to DECI swap. If you were buying it at this rate, you were going to get a great rate regardless. So it doesn't matter if you bought it with USDC, it doesn't matter what you bought it with. You're essentially getting it for cheaper than what it is, right? Cheaper than what it was, better said. So if this is what we understand, right? 1 hex equals 1.0752 DECI at that discounted rate is 7%, right? Down here at 9.93. Then let's do the math, right? 1.075 times 100,000. That equals to 107,526 DECI. So let's go ahead and put here 100,000 hex, right? Would be equal to 107,520 DECI. Now, let's run the same mathematical equation using this new figure, right? 107,520 to compare the T-shares that we would have owned having bought it at launch date at a 1-to-1 mint rate versus today buying some DECI, right, at a discounted rate, which wasn't even available, as we can see on the chart, right, from the very beginning. It was rarely available. It actually went to a premium of 17%, but now we're at a discounted rate of currently 2%, after the people have literally came back and bought it back aggressively. So let's run that math real quick, right? Let's come over here to this, and we'll do 7,520 divided by 70,389. Actually, let me do 107,520. So what we're trying to figure out here is, yeah, well, first we need to find out how much of a percentage we own of the DECI supply. So the real math is this: 107,520 divided by the total supply of DECI. We first need that percentage of ownership. Our percentage of ownership, if we multiply it times 100, is 0.0189%. So our percentage of ownership, 0.0189% pool ownership, right? So this would be the case. Now, what we would be able to then do is, utilizing that same number, we'll clear here, 0.0189% multiplied, right? Or excuse me, 0.0189%. Now we have that right number because we had to divide it by 100 by clicking that decimal symbol, multiplied by the same amount of T shares, right? 70,389, 70,389. That gives us 13.30 T shares. Look at that, guys. Look at that difference in T shares owned. 13.303521 T shares. So look at the difference, guys. The same 100,000 hex swapped for DECI instead of staking it independently would have gotten you 13.3 T shares as opposed to 12.38 T shares. Not only are you getting more T shares from the discount that DECI is compared to hex, right? Or just DECI is in discount in general, being able to purchase cheaper DECI, as opposed to purchasing hex, right? So the idea wouldn't be buy hex and then swap for DECI. No, just buy DECI, because DECI is trading at a cheaper price than hex. You're going to get more DECI with the same amount of money. If you would have bought, $100,000 or 100,000 hex worth of hex, it would have cost you the same to buy that same amount in DECI, but you'd get more DECI tokens than if you would have gotten hex tokens, because DECI price is just cheaper. That's the idea there, right? So you have over here, because of that discount, right, more T-shares in comparison to the example that I gave you over here, but you also, right, the biggest, I think, example here is the amount that you have over staking 100,000 hex here independently, right? That's crazy to me. Like, or let's even do it with this number, 107,520, 12.94 T shares. Over here, you're getting 13.3. So that's 0.4 more T shares, guys. Imagine that. And if we just use the same example, 100,000, look at that difference in T shares, guys. Because you're buying T shares at a discounted rate, and you're also buying them at a cheaper T share rate because DECI was pulled over a month ago. Guys, that's the video for today. That is why it's so important to to purchase these assets when they're at these discounts, because guys, that's when the biggest opportunity is available. Not to mention, these are liquid assets. You guys don't have to lock up your money. It's literally the same thing as owning Hex, but right now we're taking advantage of the capitulation of people who got in, but now for some reason need to get out. There are individuals out there that you do not know that for whatever reason, they just don't want to hold their DECI. They feel like, damn, I shouldn't have bought this. I need my money for bills. I need my money for that. People are struggling right now. You don't know why this price is going down, but the math does not lie. You need to understand how this benefits you over the long term by seeing discounted rates and buying cheap T-shares. That's the beauty of DECI. I hope this makes a lot more sense, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you on the next one. If you have any questions, write them down below. Thank you.